go as soon as the slide comes down.
Good morning, all. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of March 11th, 2021. The first item on the agenda are the hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on February 25th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 25th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to the public hearing continued portion. First item is on a petition by Madison Park Development Corporation doing business as 75 Dudley LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to the following public ways in Roxbury. The locations are Dudley Street on its southerly side at address number 75-81 between Guild Row and Kenilworth Street, and Guild Row on its westerly side south of Dudley Street. This was new business on January 14th, 2021, had its first public hearing on January 28th, 2021, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan 75-81 Dudley Street, Roxbury, Boston, one sheet dated March 8th, 2021.
Hi, my name is Meg Regan and I'm the project manager at Madison Park Development Corporation. Thank you, Commissioner and the Commission, for having me. As you all know, it was requested that we take a look at our building design in order to preserve the trees, the silver linden trees along Dudley Street and Guild Row. And so we're here to, even though we're almost there with our building, we were asked by certain city agencies and commission members to ask for a continuance, just so we can kind of finalize our building plan and make sure there's no discrepancies there. So I'm here to ask for a continuance.
Great, Meg, thanks so much. There's, so our next meeting is March 25th. The one that follows, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, is April 15th. So it would be 2 weeks or 5 weeks until the next meeting. Meg, do you have, or Todd or Meg? Go ahead.
Yep, no, that's correct.
Meg, are you looking for a 2-week continuance, a 5-week continuance, or something else?
I think probably a 5-week, or as long as we, as long as can be allowed, just to give the respective city agencies enough time to review the plans that we had submitted last week.
Got it. Todd, you're closest than I am, but unless you think otherwise, why don't we go with 5 weeks and then, does that make sense?
Yeah, 5 weeks should be fine, April 15th.
April 15th, perfect. Great. All right. Any questions or comments by members of the commission on the request for a continuance to April 15th? Todd or Abatana?
All set.
All right. Any members of the public?
I see none.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to continue this first item until April 15th.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing continued item number 1 for 5 weeks until April 15th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our second item. Meg, hold on 1 sec. Our second item is also on a petition by Madison Park Development Corporation doing business as 75 Dudley LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment as well as sidewalk and pedestrian ramp reconstruction. The locations are Dudley Street on its southerly side at address number 75-81 between Guild Row and Kenilworth Street, and Guild Row on its westerly side south of Dudley Street. This was new business on January 14th, 2021, had its first public hearing on January 28th, 2021, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair and License Plan 75-81 Dudley Street, Guild Row and Dudley Street, Roxbury, 2 sheets dated January 5th, 2021.
Sorry, I always forget that there's 2. I'm here again to ask for a continuance till April 15th.
Perfect. Any questions or comments by members of the commission? Todd or Abatana?
All set.
Any members of the public?
None.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this item until the April 15th PIC meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing continued item number 2 is read into the record by the chair for 5 weeks until April 15th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Meg, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. Our first item is on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Dorchester, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk and roadway reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement, streetlights, stormwater, drainage infrastructure, driveway curb cuts, flex posts, and a center median island. The locations are River Street at its intersection with Edgewater Drive and Edgewater Drive south of River Street. This was new business on February 25th, 2021, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plans, River Street and Edgewater Drive, Mattapan, 4 sheets dated March 9th, 2021.
Good morning, Chief Osgood and Public Improvement Commission. Zach Wasmuth, Chief Design Engineer for the Boston Public Works Department. I'm joined here by Steve Farr from Niche Engineering, who is our design consultant for this project.
Thank you.
Steve, you want to try and go ahead and bring up your
Sure.
screen, and I can give a quick introduction while you're doing that. And so, yeah, as we presented this project last week, this is some improvements to the intersection of River Street and Edgewater Drive. We had numerous meetings with the community out there to make improvements to this vast expanse of pavement out here. There were kind of some crazy parking situations out there, and there was no crossing at all for pedestrians. So the ask was to make it safer, to do something with the parking configuration, as well as to actually allow a pedestrian crossing here and have safe access for all users. So we implemented a temporary condition out here with some pavement markings and flex posts and some signs, as you see here today, to try it out, make sure it worked with the vehicles and the truck movements and everything. And it's been, fairly successful. So the next step is to actually build this out into the full build out, which Steve is showing here now, which is actually with with curb and everything. So with that, I can kick it over to Steve to kind of go over some of the more specific details.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you, Commissioner. So Steve Farr, Niche Engineering, and as Zach pointed out, this intersection suffered from long crosswalks. Some of them were not existent. Some ped ramps were not there, specifically across Edgewater, and we're now formalizing the flex posts, as you saw in the previous photo, that are out there today. They've been out there for a couple of years. We're shortening up the crosswalks across River Street even more by adding bulb outs on either side of River Street to shorten these crossings, and a substantial bulb out in front of the liquor store to shorten this crossing up even more. There will be, again, the Edgewater Drive will be teed up 90 degrees to River Street, again, provide more traffic calming, slow traffic down, and shorten pedestrian crossings. And that's basically it.
Zach and Steve, thanks so much. Questions or comments by members of the commission? Hearing none. Todd or Abitina?
We're all set?
All right. Any members of the public?
No, sir.
All righty. Zach, Steve, thanks so much for your work on this. I appreciate all the efforts to improve this intersection in our city.
Thank you.
And I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for specific repairs in the area of River Street and Edgewater Drive as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Thanks so much. Moving on to our second item in the public hearing agenda, on a joint petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority and the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Brighton, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps. The locations are Washington Street on both sides, generally between Montfern Avenue and Fairbanks Street, at Oak Square Avenue, north of Washington Street, and on Fairbanks Street, north of Washington Street. This was new business on February 25th, 2021, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, Washington Street at Oak Square Avenue, Washington Street at Langley Road, Boston, 2 sheets dated February 2021.
Good morning, Commissioner and city officials. My name is Katie Moulton from WSP. I'm here representing the MBTA. If I may share my screen.
Absolutely.
Is that being seen?
It's perfect. Yep, thanks, Katie.
Okay, excellent. We are here today to present some changes to the Fairbanks Street and Washington Street intersection. At the last PIC hearing, we had some concerns raised by different departments in regards to the elimination of the crosswalk on the eastern side of Fairbanks and Washington Street due to the street furniture at this corner and the existing driveway here. We met with BTD and the ADA Commission last week to discuss some options at this location. And it was agreed with at that time to relocate this crosswalk over to the Langley Road intersection, which has significant more space and more ability to provide a clear crossing at this location. We have designed these plans. We have submitted them to BTD and Public Works for their review and comment. And we have responded to those comments and are awaiting any further comments from city officials, et cetera. And I will share additionally that the proposed changes at Oak Square Ave and Washington Street have not changed at all. We are keeping the new crosswalk at this location as well. So this plan has not changed.
Great. Katie, thank you for that overview, and thank you for your work since the previous hearing at the Langley, Fairbanks, Washington Street intersections. Any questions or comments by members of the commission?
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Amy, good.
You go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Katie, thanks for sending us your updated plan last night. We just had a couple of quick comments.
Yeah.
Just in general, for the gutter mulch on the catch basins, we need to have gutter mulch on the catch basins if there aren't any, and if they're broken, they need to be replaced. But we noticed that the Fairbanks at Washington Street intersection, the the catch basin is not up against the curb line, the existing curb line, and it looks like it is, checking it on the Google map, so I don't know if it's drawn incorrectly.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify which catch basin, the one at Langley or the one
Oh, so at Fairbanks at Washington?
on the,
Actually, right where you have the hand.
right where, this one?
Where there's a circle that says OT,
Yep.
manhole. It's that catch basin there.
Okay.
And then the other comment we had was just, excuse me, sorry, I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. I might just have to circle back on that for a second, if that's okay with you, Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amy, do you want to go ahead, and then Denise, we can look back to you?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say thank you. I know that we switched it up midstream based on community and feedback from the counselor, and these guys showed up like the next day, and we were able to come up with a solution.
Right. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Katie. Any other questions or comments? I know that Denise might have another, but any other questions or comments by members of the commission?
Sarah, are you okay with the current design?
Yes, and I would just like to say we thank the team for revising their plans again last minute to react to community concerns about removing a crosswalk. So we just like to thank the team for that effort.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, I did find the other comment. Basically, on some of the new handicap ramps, they may be like a drain manhole or a catch basin. We just want to make sure that that you're out of the taper on those situations. That's all. We just want to make sure we can fit a gutter mount on the catch basins when you have the handicap ramps. We just want to make sure they're outside the taper.
Yeah, understand. So I will let you know that this catch basin right here at the corner of Langley and Washington Street, in a comment received from the Public Works Department, they did ask us we had a straight curb here at this corner in order to maintain the catch basin. They had asked us to revise this to taper this curb, which currently is a gutter mouth. That is something we can follow back up with Public Works on, as to how they want to best design that in coordination with Boston Water and Sewer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, we will do that. That was one of our comments back. We had tweaked that, so we can follow back up with Public Works on that location. And then just to clarify, at this location, you're looking for us to reset this catch basin back up against the curb.
Well, actually, looking at the Google Maps, it actually does look like it already is up against
Okay.
the curb. So I don't know if it's just drawn. It looks like it might be drawn incorrectly.
It may be a survey error. That is correct. We can verify that, and if it is not, we will ensure that that catch basin can get reset adjacent to the curb.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
Great. Denise, Katie, thanks so much. Todd, presumably these are all things which can be sort of confirmed, sort of if this is approved before the actual documents are filed?
Yeah, that should be fine. Any approval can be contingent on these minor details, and the Mylar should be updated prior to submitting.
Great. All right, other questions or comments? Todd or Abatana, besides that?
No, all set other than that.
Okay, any members of the public?
None.
All right, Katie, thank you for your work on this. I'll entertain a motion on this item, again, contingent upon final sign off by Public Works and Boston Water and Sewer.
Motion to approve public hearing number 2 on a joint petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority and the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within Washington Street, Oak Square Avenue, Fairbanks Street, and in Brighton, as read into the record by the chair, contingent upon final review with the Public Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Moving on to our third item of the public hearing agenda, on a petition by Seaport Square Development Company, LLC, for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of new wayfinding signage. The locations are Seaport Boulevard on its southwesterly side, southeast of Pier 4 Boulevard, on its northeasterly side, northwest of Fan Pier Boulevard and Thompson Place, on its northeasterly side, generally between Sleeper Street and Fan Pier Boulevard, within its center median, southeast of Sleeper Street. Locations are Pier 4 Boulevard and also on Pier 4 Boulevard on its southeast side, generally across from Autumn Lane. This would be business on February 25th, 2021. This is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Seaport Wayfinding Sign, Seaport Boulevard, Pier 4 Boulevard, Seaport, 4 sheets dated April 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Jody Sanchez from Goulston and Stores. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner Seaport Square Development Company, LLC, which is a master developer of the Seaport Square project. I'm joined today by Amy Prange and Dan Sullivan of the petitioner, as well as John Schmidt of Niche Engineering. As Mr. Chairman mentioned, we were here at New Business a few weeks ago for approval of specific repairs, which will involve the installation of wayfinding and directional signage throughout the Seaport Square project. But the approval before you today is specifically for those signs within Seaport Boulevard and Pier 4 Boulevard as shown on the plans, which Amy will walk through. As a reminder, as other blocks come forward for development, we will include signage as part of that specific repairs set. We've been working with PIC Council regarding the legal documentation. And unless there are any other questions for me, I'll now turn it over to Amy, who will walk through the proposed work.
Thank you, Jody. Good morning, everyone. So there are 5 signs in the public way that we'd like to install this summer in 2021. As Jody mentioned, there's a number of other signs that are also bubbled but are not included as part of this petition. And just to briefly remind the Commission on our goals for this project, we started this project a few years ago in 2018 with 3 main objectives. One is to unify the overall wayfinding signage program within the Seaport to point people to major landmarks like the sea and downtown Fort Point. 2 was to unify public spaces that were built in the Seaport over a number of years to make them feel consistent as part of one kind of domain. with park rule signs, and then 3 was to really identify and brand Harbor Way, which is an important part of our development, but will never be a public way, and as such will never have a street sign. So I'm happy to get into the details of what the signs look like. Just to remind you all, these are the upright signs that are included in the overall master plan. Starting from the left and going over to the right, you have a low kind of park rules sign that will be installed in the open public spaces. A taller directory that's designed in a way that we can pop out the map over time, which we expect to have to do every 9 to 12 months for the next few years. The Harbor Way kind of gateway sign to identify Harbor Way at all the major crossings at Congress Street, Autumn Lane, Seaport Boulevard, Northern Ave. And then a freestanding directional sign that appears at the curb in the street furniture zone for pedestrians to kind of identify those landmarks, as I was discussing earlier. So to walk through the plans, just that Niche prepared, all 5 locations that are in the public way are detailed. You couldn't see my mouse 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure if you can see it today, but location 1 is a freestanding directional sign at Pier 4 Boulevard, outside of Block M, the Echelon property, kind of right at the entrance to that main plaza, that development. Location 2 is at the corner of Pier 4 Boulevard and Seaport Boulevard, again at Echelon, at that development, Block N. Location 3 is a freestanding directional on Seaport Boulevard at the Fan Pier Boulevard intersection, outside of an existing MBTA head house. Location 4 is at a mid-block crosswalk at Blocks B and C at the One Seaport development, and that is a directory. And location 5 is a Seaport inlay within the median in Seaport Boulevard at Sleeper Street, where we're going to replace some of the cobblestone pavers with a Seaport tile inlay. So those are the details. That this phase 1 we'd like to install, by fall of this year, and we'll be back to you with any other additional signs as other development projects are more developed.
Great. Amy, appreciate your work on this. 2 quick things just to make sure that sort of over time that the design or the content on the signs that are in the public right of way sort of conform with the BPDA standards around signage in the public right of way. We just want to make sure that we can continue to be able to sort of have that coordination with you, and that sort of content on those signs can be reviewed and signed off on by the BPDA. Does that work for you?
Yes, that works. And I would say I think we have at least one more round of review with BPDA. They'd like to see some shop drawings as they're developed by DCL just to confirm materials and dimensions and everything. So we can go through that with them one more time.
Great. Amy, appreciate that. And then just following up on something which Amy Cording had raised in the public hearing, or the new business hearing 2 weeks ago, if we can just make sure that we're continuing to coordinate on updating any of the lane markings along Seaport Boulevard, et cetera, that were sort of identified, that would be great.
We communicated as early as this morning. Yeah. We've got plans going back and forth. We hope to meet
Awesome.
next week to figure it out.
Thank you, Amy. Great.
Yep.
Amy, sorry, not miscalling, Amy Brand.
Yep.
Amy, especially the directory signs that are there within the public right of way, there has to be some acceptance. So when BPDA, when their design review people do the design review, there has to be some linkage of city logos on this also. And okay, so just make sure, this is the stuff that gets installed like a directory within the public right of way, not the one that just says Harbor Way, Seaport.
Yeah.
Okay, that I don't care, because we can remove that thing in a heartbeat if it was awkward. But it is the larger ones where we want to have some sort of a semblance, and I'm going to assume that people upstairs at BPDA will be looking into those things. But in case if they forget, I need you to know that this is not a private advertising campaign. I hope you know what I'm saying, Amy, without try to be very delicate about it. Okay, so this is a directory of activities that are within the seaport area, and there has to be some connection whether it's the city logo, and I have forgotten. I don't quite know what the city branding things are. Maybe those days it was, the Boston logo, City of Boston, and my name on it. Okay, but
Yeah. So I'm sorry, just to clarify, you would like a City of Boston logo? We can actually, or you
make sure
wouldn't?
that when BBD is engaged, that it has been an active conversation on your part with them, so as not to, so to make sure that they were asked and they respond.
Yeah, so we had several rounds of review with Rich McGinnis, I think last summer, but it might make sense to do again one final check before we print these things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And just a follow-up question. This is strictly wayfinding. It's not, there's no intent in the future to sell advertising on these signs, correct?
No. No advertising.
Thank you.
Oh, and then I just had a general question, and I apologize if you've already brought this up, about, like the LMI agreement or, revising the LMI agreement for like the whole area. I just want to make sure, like, say if we have to go out and do some work, we're not responsible for removing and replacing the sign. I just want to make sure that's covered.
Yes, we're working with Chong Lu, PIC Council on the Master LMI revision for this, to cover this.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great. Other questions or comments? Dr. Abertina?
I believe Mr. Reddy has requested to speak.
Perfect. Tom?
Hey, Chris, how you doing? Hi, Tom.
Good.
Hey, Amy. Tom Reddy from FP&A, the Neighborhood
Morning.
Association that covers the area. It doesn't sound like these have gone off to print yet, so would it be okay if we just confer on what plans to be printed on these things? Just so the neighborhood has a little bit of input in terms of the areas you're trying to draw attention to, right? Especially as it relates to, actually any of the public amenities. That's all.
Sure, yeah, we can coordinate offline.
Thank you. And the email to get us is fpnaboston@gmail.com. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Amy. Other questions or comments by members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Seaport Square Development Company LLC for the making of specific repairs within Seaport Boulevard and Pier 4 Boulevard as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Our next item is on a petition by Lionhouse Condominium Trust for the making of specific repairs within Wall Street, a public way in Charlestown, located on its northerly side at the rear of 284 Bunker Hill Street, generally west of Sullivan Street, consisting of sidewalk reconstruction and a widened driveway curb cut. This was new business on February 25th, 2021. This is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plan 284 Bunker Hill Street, Wall Street, Charlestown. One sheet dated December 8th, 2020.
Hi, good morning. My name is Anthony Donato from Hancock Associates, representing 284 Bunker Hill Street. Presented an application for a non-standard driveway apron to access an existing driveway, an existing garage on Wall Street that serves 284 Bunker Hill. This plan was developed with discussions with the Boston Traffic Department and Todd Lyman. A prior application for a standard 24-inch wide driveway was determined inadequate by the Traffic Department and in July of 2020, and we, as such, has presented this plan as shown here on the screen. And if you have any questions regarding the application, please let me know.
Any questions or comments by members of the commission? Todd or Abatana?
We're all set with this.
Okay. Any members of the public?
I see none.
Very good. All right, then, Anthony, thanks so much. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion on a petition by Lionhouse Condominium Trust for the making of specific repairs in Wall Street as read into the record by the chair.
This one's gonna get interesting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our final item for the public hearing agenda is on a petition by 46 Wyvern LLC for the abandonment of any and all rights to travel the public may have had within a portion of Grover Street, also known as Wyvern Street, a private way in West Roxbury, located between Florian Street and Fitzmore Road. This was new business on February 25th, 2021, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Abandonment Plan, Wyvern Street, formerly known as Grover Street, at 46 Wyvern Street, Roslindale, one sheet dated February 5th, 2021.
Good morning, everyone. James Gallagher on behalf of the petitioner, 46 Wyvern Street LLC. If I could, I will just take you through, let me see here. So just to remind everyone, I'm not sure if you can see these.
Yep, we see the PowerPoint.
This was the street view of the home at 46 Wyvern Street. As you see on the left side, there's new development that I will reference later that actually pertains to this and is related to this abandonment parcel. The plan that was submitted, whoops, sorry. And I just dropped off originals this morning with Ms. Pell. There's a 138 square foot section in the front of this parcel, just off the sidewalk, just onto the parcel's main portion of the parcel that remains from an old street that was laid out that was formerly known as Grover Street. As you see, if you look at the plan, just north of our parcel or northwest of our parcel, that new development that I mentioned earlier, that had a similar section of Grover Street that was abandoned when that new development was made just in 2017. This 138 square foot section that we seek to abandon is really just a tail that has been left. Just to give you sort of a visual, this is just a little section. This is essentially what it is. It's the front portion of the driveway, some front part of the grass. It doesn't go onto the sidewalk at all. It is all on the parcel. And this is an overhead view, again, just for the from Google, so you can see what it looks like on the ground. I know there were some questions. There is a taking recorded by the Boston Water and Sewer. My clients and I have been in contact with Boston Water and Sewer. We have, and Boston Water and Sewer has executed a deed granting title in this. The taking is actually only the first 10 feet into the, and it's shown on the plan. They've executed a deed to my client. We've provided an easement to them for the entire section. That pertains to both this western border and the eastern border in the back. That deed has been recorded and it was provided to the PIC in the original submission plans. I'm happy to take any questions.
James, thanks so much for that overview. Questions or comments by members of the commission? James, as you know, that we, and Todd, you can certainly speak more to this. We did get a request from community members just to get a better understanding of the implications of this, and their request by them to have a continuance so there could be further conversation with the community. Todd, is that a fair sort of representation?
Yes, and I believe Mr. Frank O'Brien, who is that community member, is on the line and would wish to add testimony. Mr. O'Brien,
Great.
if you'd like to unmute yourself, you may.
Mr. O'Brien?
You had it for a minute.
Mr. O'Brien, not sure if you've unmuted yourself, but would you like to offer comment on this? While we wait with for any public comment, James, I think I think already been in touch with this constituent, and obviously his request for just a continued conversation between now and potentially the next PIC hearing. Do you know if are there specific questions that the constituent had that you've been able to sort of address or answer for him and potentially the neighbor association?
So I know one of the questions Mr. O'Brien raised was about the Boston Water and Sewer taking. I think I have addressed that, and I'm happy to provide Mr. O'Brien a copy of the deed. And I've been working with Boston Water and Sewer Council for the last 3 months on this. So I think that is sufficiently been addressed. With respect to Mr. O'Brien's other issue, I would only say, I know he has some concerns about whether there's still a way that the public could use. In reference back to that new development that appears just to the left here on the screen, the rest of the way that was there has already been abandoned. It literally goes through there's right next to that house you see on the left, there's actually another duplex that's the exact same house. That way goes through 2 houses. So there's effectively, by the PIC's abandonment of that section in 2017, which now goes through 2 homes. This is it's really a parcel, 138 square foot parcel that no one can really effectively use. My client really only brought this to clear up the title issues that had been left for the last 70 or so years. So I understand Mr. O'Brien's concerns, but I don't think that continuing it is, and I said I'm happy to talk to Mr. O'Brien. I don't think that there's any real public use for this 138 square foot section, and so I don't know that a continuance is really necessary. So we would advocate for the PIC to vote on it, but obviously I'd leave that to the board.
James, thanks so much. I don't know if Mr.
O'Brien here.
Yep, please go for it.
Yeah, hi. I think I finally figured out how to unmute myself properly. Thank you for your time. Yes, as we say in the letters that we provided, a number of residents in the area, including abutters, are respectfully asking for a continuance for 30 days to better understand the proposal and how it fits into the overall neighborhood, including the water and sewer right-of-way and any other adjacent lots and properties. So notwithstanding, we do appreciate the verbal explanation right now, but we are asking for 30-day continuance to better understand it. Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien, so those 2 issues are really both the water and sewer piece, which I guess in your letter you documented and that James you spoke to, and then any implications that this has for the neighborhood as a whole beyond the actual lot that's in question. Is that right?
No, we're asking to better understand the impact of the proposed abandonment on immediate properties, as well as any public interest that may exist in the public way. We simply just don't understand enough about it to offer any meaningful comment, other than would like a courtesy 30-day continuance to better understand it and provide comment.
Absolutely. If we were to continue, the options are essentially would be either 2 weeks or 5 weeks. There are obviously other options as well, but those are
two weeks would be fine if that's acceptable. I understand that a lot of work has gone into this so far, but two weeks would give us adequate time to provide meaningful comment for sure.
James, I realize that that's not your preference, but obviously Mr. O'Brien, and I think my sense is, and correct me if I'm wrong, some other abutters have an interest in just being able to sort of talk through what you've already presented today, but with a community audience. Would a 2-week continuance be acceptable to you and to your client?
I don't want to, that's fine. We can go with 2 weeks. And I will just say that I don't think this abandonment doesn't go into any other parcel. It's strictly limited to the bounds of my client's parcel. And everything else has been turned into Wyvern Street that used to exist. So I'm happy to go along to get along. So that's fine.
We appreciate that and appreciate sort of the information that you're showing here, which I think would be the sort of information which my expectation would be helpful to Mr. O'Brien and to his colleagues to be able to understand the limits of what's being requested here. Other questions or comments by either the commission, by Todd or Abatano, or by any members of the public? Okay. All right. With that, then I will entertain a motion to continue for 2 weeks till the March 25th PIC meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing item number 5 as read into the record by the chair to March 25th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
James, Frank, I think you guys are already connected, but if we can be of help, Todd can help sort of facilitate a conversation if that's useful.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, that concludes our public hearing portion. Moving on to the new business portion of our meeting. Our first item is 140 Clarendon Street, Boston proper, specific repairs on a petition by 140 Clarendon LL Limited Partnership.
Good morning.
Hi there. This is, oh, sorry, John.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, this is Rebecca Lee from MIDS. I'm here with John Schmid from Niche Engineering and Darcy Jameson from Beacon Communities, which is the sponsor of this property, which involves the internal rehabilitation of the YW building, an historic building on the corner of Clarendon and Stewart Street. I'll turn it over to Darcy to explain the project a bit, and then John will present the specific petition. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Rebecca, and hi to everyone, and nice to see everybody. Thank you for your time. I thought that I would just give a 2-minute overview of this project. I know a lot of folks are probably familiar with it, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I can't tell you how much we really have appreciated the collaboration and city support over the last couple of months. Just by way of some quick background, the YWCA, who owns this building and has owned it and been living there since the early 1900s when they built it, had a market rate buyer lined up to acquire this building pre-COVID that would have displaced all the cultural and educational uses that are there, the Lyric Stage Theater, the Snowden School, et cetera, as well as all the residents in the building. With the onset of COVID, that opportunity dissolved and opened up a new opportunity for Beacon, the Department of Neighborhood Development, housing team, the state's housing team, and the Pine Street Inn to really think big about what we could accomplish here that would really have a citywide impact. The outcome is, and we can move to the next slide, please. The outcome of these conversations is the preservation of the existing cultural and educational uses that are in the building. Obviously, retain the historic integrity of the building, and then also the creation of 210 permanently affordable studio and 1-bedroom apartments. And I think the most exciting aspect of this project, and really where we think about the citywide impact, is that of the 210 apartments, 111 of those are going to be set aside for people that are currently experiencing homelessness. They're called Housing First units. Those households will move in right out of shelters or off the street into this permanent supportive housing with full case management and wraparound services from the Pine Street Inn in order to help ensure that they succeed. So the good news is this is an amazing program. The challenging news, as you can well imagine, is sort of the cost and schedule associated with trying to buy a downtown high-value asset with this type of a program initiative. In order for the Y to avoid some financial consequences with their current lenders and investors, we need to close on the financing for this project no later than August. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need all of our approvals, financing and otherwise, in place this month for us to submit to HUD in early April. HUD, through an FHA mortgage, will be providing our first mortgage, and they require 4 to 5 months to review a project and need to see that the whole package is in place. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're so glad to be in front of you today and happy to answer kind of all of your additional questions. John?
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. There's two specific repair requests before the commission this morning. The first is the reconstruction of the public sidewalk in Clarendon Street. We presently have a 12-foot wide concrete non-compliant sidewalk. We are proposing to reconstruct that sidewalk to provide an 8-foot concrete path of travel and a 4-foot wide pervious frontage zone. Within that frontage zone, we will provide 5 bike racks. There are 2 existing, and we're proposing 3 more. And this is at the request of William Moose. We'll also be complementing the pavers. We will extend our work up to the intersection where we will meet them with the work that's been previously committed to by Trinity Place. There's also a vault that serves the building for electrical purposes in front of the sidewalk, and we are adjusting that vault to be compliant. And again, we are resetting the curb, and any curb that may be non-compliant or broken, such as a curb stone, will be replaced as well. If I may move to the second slide. This is the,
John?
I can go
John,
back. Yes,
I think you may want to adjust your screen. I'm seeing a very small version of it. I'm not sure whether everyone else is experiencing the same thing.
okay. Yeah, this is where I struggle.
I wonder if you just present in the lower right-hand corner. That one.
That's the one.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And hopefully this tells the story a little bit better.
That's better on this screen at least. I can't speak for far.
All right. So this is specific repairs, and then for me to move to the next screen. Next slide. Go. Apologize. So we are in the groundwater conservation overlay district, and our work exceeds 50% of the building's value, as well as Boston Water and Sewers policy that we capture and recharge the 1 1/4 inch of stormwater runoff. We are proposing a tank within the building that will accommodate about 1,450 cubic feet of stormwater. That's a 1 1/4 inch capture, where that water will then be pumped into 3 wells within the public sidewalk, and any excess water will be discharged into the Boston Water and Sewer system through a gravity overflow system. The drawings have been before Boston. The drawings are now with BWSC seeking review and approval, and we hope to have that approval within the coming weeks. And I'm open to questions.
Rebecca, John, thank you for that. Darcy, thank you for what seems like a fantastic project. So appreciate your work on this. Questions or comments about the specific repairs?
John or Ms. Jensen, do you know whether you need any supplemental utility connections or augmentation from either Stewart or Clarendon Street, or do you have all your utilities in place, properly sized? Just trying to see whether you need to upgrade any of the babies that are serving this building in the way you are repurposing or repackaging the building.
The building will have an upgraded utility services. I think and that's on the plan with Boston Water and Sewer. I think we have we have the new storm drain, obviously, and I think we have a new sanitary and possibly a new water line as well. And one thing I didn't mention in the specific repair is we are providing the shadow conduit that is required through the Smart Utilities asset.
Great, thank you, John.
And Chris, I'll just add on as well. I think we are in pretty good shape with and in agreement on our TAPA with William. So a lot of his final comments got integrated into this, and we're in the process of just wrapping that up. I think I need to do one more swipe through with a few edits, but I think that we're in pretty good shape. And then before everybody asks, we are new NEI Construction is the selected general contractor. They're putting together their CMP right now, their NFPA, and the COVID safety plan. And They've been busy getting this project out to bid, so I think I'll check in with them, today, tomorrow, and see on their timing, probably another week or so out to get that in, but it's on the radar.
Perfect. Darcy, thank you for both those things. Other questions or comments?
Darcy, are you doing any improvements to the actual building facade in itself, or will it be made this very beautiful building?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We are fully preserving the historic integrity of the building. We're going to be using federal historic tax credits. So in addition to the fact that we're required to, there will be some minor envelope and facade improvements, but no changes, just repairs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Para. Other questions or comments?
My one comment will be the little, I don't know, driveway street or one thing that's to the side of this building. That seems like potential to make it look like a driveway more so than all those weird little ramps coming together. I think it might actually make the grading potentially easier. But to make it more of a continuous sidewalk.
Amy, I understand that request. And we've considered that. However, that driveway doesn't really serve our facility, nor is it in front of our property, nor do we have budget to do that. As Darcy was explaining, this is a tightly funded project serving a nonprofit purpose.
Yeah, no, it's fine if it's not okay. I actually thought it might be cheaper to build just the continuous apron than 3 new ramps, but.
This is Rebecca. So that driveway is actually associated with this, with the University Club next door and the Trinity Clarendon condominium hotel building that's being built. But it's actually owned by Boston Properties. And because all of this area at one time had John Hancock lineage. So while the YW building, this building, has the right to use it to get to the back for deliveries and loading, this land is actually owned by others. And also, as you may know, this drum, this round thing on the left side of this plan, is slated to be demolished and replaced by a new residential building to be constructed by Boston Properties as part of the South End Back Bay Gateway project. So this is going to be reconstructed by them in any event. And at some point, you'll see a complete street kind of surface treatment along this entire stretch of Clarendon Street sometime in your lifetime and mine.
Right. Rebecca, that's really helpful history. Amy, it sounds like you guys are in good shape with what we are proposing. And most of the work that we really touched on there was addressing accessibility and connectivity.
Yep, no, that was the heart of my comment. I'm happy to ask your neighbor for the same thing. But yeah, no, it wasn't the add cost. It would make it easier and more straightforward.
Our deeper pocketed neighbor.
No problem. I'll remember.
I'll let them know.
Thank you, Amy and Rebecca. Darcy, other questions or comments?
Yes, so I would just like to thank the proponent for coordinating with myself and William Moose regarding the TAPR requests. And we look forward to continuing that conversation on finalizing the design of that alleyway driveway condition.
Yeah, that's great, Sarah. We would like to try and do that with you as we, push towards this April submission, in the coming week or so, if we can.
Great. Thanks, Sarah and Darcy. Other questions or comments? Todd or Abatania?
We're all set.
All right. Any members of the public?
I see none.
Okay. 2 weeks work for you, Rebecca, Darcy, and John. Okay. All right. We'll see you on March 23rd then.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Our second item of new business is 235 Old Colony Avenue. Damrell Street, Georgia Street, Alger Street, South Boston, a widening and relocations, abandonment, repairs, projection license, outdoor seating license, all on a set of petitions by Washington Village Property Owners, LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman again. Rebecca Lee from Mintz. I'm here with John Schmid and with Mike Fitzpatrick from Samuels and Associates. to present phase one of the Washington Village project, which is a project in South Boston that has been approved for 746 dwelling units, 82,000 square feet of retail plus parking on Old Colony, Damrell, and Dorchester Streets in South Boston. The project has received BPDA approval, and we are aiming towards a construction financing later this spring. So we're here to show you the PIC plans for the 3 streets that are around phase one of the project, which is a residential building with ground floor retail with approximately 214 residential units. Phase one also includes the construction of about a 7,500 new green that is meant to be an open space in a pretty dense part of the city. So a bit of a eye respite and otherwise respite for the neighborhood, as it will be publicly accessible and activated. So I'm going to turn this over to Mike Fitzpatrick, who is a Vice President at Samuels and Associates and who is the project director.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. So thrilled to be before you all today. We actually partnered up with Core Investments back in 2018, and we've spent a good amount of time getting to the point that we are right now, and really glad that we have our first phase to a point, as Rebecca just suggested, that we're really gearing up and getting ready to get a shovel in the ground. So I'm going to share my screen, and then let's make sure that you can all see it, and then I'll walk you through just a general overview of the property in phase one. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Perfect. So to start, just a reminder that it's a multi-building, multi-phase project, and it's over a 5-acre site. So you can see the full development here, but the area that's outlined in blue is the phase one portion that lives permanently. So the building that Rebecca had mentioned. Plus, we are taking on and building the majority of the outdoor amenity space as part of phase one. So the central area that's labeled the green is an amenity for the neighborhood, and it's been redesigned to bring it front and center and have access off of Damrell Street. So that was one of the moves that were made as part of phase one, and then getting the phase one building itself to a point that it just made sense as far as the product and what we'd be bringing to the market. So the interim condition of the site in phase one is represented here. So this is the building, the park. There will be a driveway, really a couple of driveways that would be put in as part of this, and then a temporary surface parking lot. The temporary surface parking lot is needed because the structured parking that will ultimately take the place of that is part of a future phase. And then a more illustrative plan that further defines the interim condition, because we have a significant amount of site work and landscape that's occurring internally around the perimeter. And then what we're going to walk through today specifically is what's proposed and happening on Damrell Street, Old Colony, and Dorchester Street. This one, I think, represents better graphically what we would have for that period of time that we're operating under the phase one condition. So the next set of slides will walk through the various highway easement specific repair plans, et cetera. So I'm going to actually turn it over to John Schmid, and we'll continue on. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Schmid with Niche Engineering. So we are been working with the city on coordinating the proposed widening of Damrell Street sometime in the future. So we are providing the 9-foot wide highway easement along this section of Damrell. It runs from the intersection of Old Colony to the limits of the work within phase one. As we come back with future phases, that highway easement will be extended down Damrell, so the city will have an unimpeded access for future widening. Is to move along over to Old Colony Ave. We are also providing a highway easement. Our original ask was a pedestrian easement, which has been historically has been what's been required, but understanding new policies and procedures for the city, we are proceeding with a highway easement. And the purpose of this highway easement at this time is to provide safe and accessible access on a concrete sidewalk for the public. And as we take the turn onto Dorchester Street, similar, here we have a 4-foot wide highway easement that again provides safe and accessible path of travel on a concrete sidewalk. Now I'll turn in, and interrupt me at any point. As we turn into Damrell, understanding the future widening and future curb line of Damrell, what we're proposed here is a curb pretty much in the existing location, then a 6.5-foot concrete sidewalk, and then a flush curb, which will become the future curb line of Damrell when it's widened. And then beyond that curb towards the building, we have a furnishing zone, which consists of street trees and porous pavers. It's about 3.5 feet wide. And then we have another 6.8 feet of concrete sidewalk that brings you to the easement. And that's pretty much along the building face in that area. But this has been coordinated. We've had numerous meetings with city agencies, and this is the direction that we've been given, and we've been happy to provide that. The sidewalks here, again, will have street trees, new street lighting. We've been coordinating with Boston Street Lighting, pervious pavers, under drains, and street trees, and Parks Department has reviewed the plan and has signed off on it. As we turn on to Old Colony, here we'll provide a 4.5-foot wide frontage zone for the pervious pavers, under drains, street trees, street lighting, and a 7.5-foot wide path of public travel. But the sidewalk is wider than that and projects further into the building, towards the building. And as we take the turn onto Dorchester Street, again, here we have a 4.5-foot wide furnishing zone, a 7.5-foot concrete sidewalk, and we continue to have new street trees, new street lights, under drains, as well as the shadow conduit that is on all streets, as is a requirement of the smart utility policies and guidelines. Proceed and move to the canopies. Moving on to the canopies, we were seeking a canopy license for canopies that will be within the highway easement along Damrell, as well as a portion of Old Colony. The canopies are 10 feet or greater above the sidewalk. They are heat traced, internally drained. The canopy along Damrell projects about 4 feet into the highway easement, and the canopy along Old Colony projects about 1 foot into the highway easement. The canopies are designed and to the standards that the Commission has required in the past several years. And then our next ask, as we scroll along, is the outdoor seating. And we're providing outdoor seating in the area between the street trees and the building face under the canopy. There's no restaurants proposed, really, it's just public seating at this point. And I've received comments from Sarah, and when I come back in 2 weeks, the plans will be revised to show a second chain for the delineator, as well as the seating layout will be revised to ensure that there's 5% accessible seating within the public aspect of the outdoor seating area. And then our last comment, or last petition, is for an abandonment plan. And this is where I let the lawyers speak because it's a little too confusing for my simple mind.
Hardly a simple mind. So Alger Street is an oddity. Alger Street doesn't really serve a function, and it is more like an alley. But the right-of-way exists, and in fact, the right-of-way exists as shown on this plan within property of our client. So this petition is solely for the abandonment of the city's rights-of-way within public property that is adjacent, wholly within our client's property. And we've provided a title letter about ownership to the city.
I apologize, Rebecca. Can you just walk me through that one more time?
Sure. So Alger Street comes from Dorchester Ave over on the left and then moves easterly and is actually not very functional as a city street, but there's a segment of it that's of the right-of-way that's actually within land that is owned by our client and that is scheduled to be redeveloped as part of the Phase 1 project. So what we're trying to do is to just abandon this segment of Alger Street that really serves no purpose, dead ends, and is not of any particular use as a right-of-way. I will note that there have been discussions with the Boston Water and Sewer Commission about how service is going to run. And our client is redeveloping the non-colored portion of this plan as part of phase 2. And so those discussions are that we will commit as the phase 2 owner to ensure that they have the easement corridor that they need for water service. And this just happened in the last 24 hours, so I'm drafting a letter of undertaking that will be acceptable to John Sullivan to address their pedestrian easement ways. We've also been asked by the city, when Alger Street is reconstructed in a slightly different location, in phase 2, you'll see petitions for abandonment and then relocation to a location southerly, that this be actually dedicated as a public street. So that will be part of the suite of phase 2 PIC actions to come before you in the future.
Got it. On that first piece, Denise, you're comfortable with that approach from the water and sewer perspective?
Oh, yes.
All right, and then we can discuss sort of the future of Alger Street, obviously, the subsequent, the other actions, Rebecca, at sort of subsequent.
Yeah.
phase.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great, well, thank you, everyone. So this is just the end of the slideshow, but happy to flip back and pull up any of the materials for any further discussions and questions. And John and Rebecca, if there's anything else that you want to raise or any slide you want to flip to, we can do that as well.
Well, actually, this is a perfect shot because the John Sullivan corridor is going to be straight down this, and then it's going to hang a right onto Alger Street. So the BWSC will have rights under this street as well as under Alger Street. This has also been asked to be a public street when it's built out in its final condition as shown here.
This rendering also does a nice job of depicting Dan Morel and the curb and the sidewalk and the recessed street trees and the flush curb and the pervious pavers.
John, I have a few questions if it is okay with you folks. So that the very previous slide which you had before this one, it shows Alger Street. That one. No, you went too far.
Yep.
That one. John, this segment of Alger Street as shown on this plan, is it a public street or a private street, this segment?
Rebecca?
It's a private way open to public travel.
Got it. So if that is the case, can you just amend the title block? Okay, so that's one. Just housekeeping stuff. I'm sure you all are there 99.9. This is QCQA. Second part, and I'm not sure to whom it should go to. I think Michael or John. How much coordination have you done with our BPDA, our planning agencies, South Boston plan? You know, they have a huge program called Plan South Boston. And my memory serves me correctly, some of these streets or this neighborhood might be part of that. So my question is, how much coordination have you done with that planning effort?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for that. So I will tell you, there's been extensive coordination today, and there will continue to be so, just because of the what's planned on the corridor, and obviously the amount of work that's gone into the study. And so we've consistently and constantly been using that as our guide, and we've been talking to BPDA and folks throughout the process. So as Rebecca mentioned, we have a phase 2 plan and master plan for the balance of the site that specifically has hit on Alger Street, the alignment, the location, what it becomes. So there's extensive coordination that will continue to be so, and then we'll be coming back before several folks in the very near future on the condition of Alger Street.
Michael, if you could help me with this front, because I just can't keep up with everything, and I apologize for that.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Fitzgerald, Jim Fitzgerald from BPDA is the key person. If you all can facilitate some email from Mr. Fitzgerald saying that, you know, he's okay with what you are proposing, that way, that could be a record just for us, okay? That way, we don't need to drag too many people to say, hey, are you all on the same page? That's one, okay? And hopefully I'm not missing something. And Michael, if you can go to that very last wonderful photograph, which you all, not a photo, the isometric, that one. So I kept hearing that you all want this little dead-end piece of black surface to be a public street. And that would be a little bit of awkward, because if it is to be a public street, I need a full hammerhead turnaround and all of that good stuff. So can you take that one through about wanting this to be a public street? Because I think your consultants know the standards which we have for a dead-end public street, and I don't know how I'm going to make a three-point turn from the other end. Like, what are the benefits for us? And again, I will leave it.
We, just to be clear, we did not propose that. We have proposed a private way open to public travel. We're happy to maintain it, happy to monitor it, happy to schedule it. This was a request from the PIC and BTD.
Oh, my bad, good Lord, because my next statement was just to say, please coordinate with PIC and BTD staff. Okay.
No, it was their request.
Okay, so that makes my comments really, really suspiciously, profoundly stupid. But do keep in mind, so for the civil engineers that are on this board, they decide that street, I'm not sure the way. You see those three little white, green, and brownish looking truck? So that's a parking slot over there, especially the device that curve. So, and then you got a crosswalk where three little people are crossing further in. How am I going to make a U-turn and come back? So, John Schmidt, you all guys need to give some thought.
You make a right turn onto Alger. The road keeps going. Yeah, you make a right turn onto Alger.
That is conveniently, okay. Okay.
So yeah, you can make a right turn after those people and keep on going. There's no hammerhead turnaround. It won't be a dead end. I think everybody agrees that the Alger of today is not good. But the Alger of tomorrow should be a street that hits two other streets.
Right. Then we have the concern of a public street ending up on, you guys know this stuff better than I do. I've said enough of this stuff over the last 2 days. So we can't have public streets ending on private streets. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that little speech you have heard from me in years past. Okay. So just make sure that the little duck can get its way out of this neighborhood without being in a liable situation.
One very minor note associated with this, both this isometric and the specific repair plan. It looks like this stretch, the sort of the curb radius on the short stretch of Alger really are these sort of sharper corners. If you can connect in with Para about that, it looks the same way on the specific repair plan. Just for plowing and street sweeping purposes, whether it's a private way or public way, you're going to want to build it the way it's just sort of more of a city standard, so they're actually so they couldn't get to the curb.
Yeah.
This is a landscape architect, not an engineer who did this.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a
Nice people.
It's a little bit dated at this point in time, so we've got some other coordination that's happening, and we can have a revised. This was to give you a full sense of what it's going to be, but all great points. And we have certainly the design and continuation of Alger Street and understanding that it needs to make the connection and provide for the appropriate radiuses and whatnot. So we do have other materials that reflect that coordination.
Perfect.
I also wanted
Go ahead,
sorry,
Michael.
I just wanted to confirm, Mike, can you go back to the site plan? I just want to confirm everybody's clear that this new street that we're talking about is actually going to be just a drive in phase one. It's not going to be the real new street. It's going to be a drive that leads to an interim parking lot. It's only when phase two is built out that you'll have the truly new street with all of the right dimensions that will work out with PIC, BTD, and the BPDA. And then Alger Street going west will be the quote correct dimension. And then when they're built out, obviously they'll be built out to engineering plans approved by BTD. The street will get inspected, and then it will be turned over, and it will be those will be two true streets. And then the city has the joy of naming this little street.
This is Craig Lucy here at Howard Stein Hudson. Just wanted to mention one thing, Para, in your comment about the plan out here. If you can see in this picture, there are neck downs up on Old Colony Ave. So in coordination with the plan, those have been removed. So we have been coordinating with.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you.
But we can get that confirmation from BPDA and BTD for the next.
Yeah, because just earlier this week, we saw some sketches about Old Colony and Rochester Street, and that's if I wasn't in that meeting, I wouldn't have known. So
Yep, yeah, the primary focus of the plan is really Old Colony Ave, Dorchester Street, and Dorchester Ave in terms of kind of the look and feel. And then, of course, is the connecting streets and whatnot, but, right.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you so much.
Guy, Par, Amy, seems like you guys are already on this, John. But if we can just look at what the right sort of crossing distances for pedestrian at Damrell and Old Colony as part of this, or what that opening should look like, that would be great. That can just be a point of discussion between now and the public hearing. Other questions or comments by members of the commission? Todd or Avatana?
All set.
Yep. Any members of the public?
None.
Great. Guy, Michael, Rebecca, John, anything else you want to cover?
No.
All set, thank you.
Very good. Well, does the 25th work for you guys?
It does.
Perfect.
We will see you then.
We'll see you on March 25th. Till then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Our final item of new business is 9 Glover Court, Woodward Street, South Boston, a widening and relocation, specific repairs on a set of joint petition by 9 Glover Court LLC and 35 Woodward Street Condominium Trust.
All right, hello. I'm Brian Kaplan. I'm one of the sponsors, and with me is Bob Messenger and Michael Littman of Howard, Stein, and Hudson. I'm going to give a quick, I think Bob's going to share his screen, but I'm going to give a kind of quick introduction to the project. So we have a specific repairs petition and a widening and relocation petition, and we have a proposed approved building at 9 Glover Court, also known as 534 Dorchester Ave rear. So this is a second phase of the condominium at 534 Dorchester Ave. The building would front on Glover. It's a 4-story, 7-unit building, and it's ZBA approved. And when we went through kind of the community process, we heard a lot of concerns about traffic, specifically cutting through from Dorchester Street to Dorchester Ave on Woodward Street. We are now also aware of some other developments, particularly one bigger one on Glover that's been approved. We also ran into some issues with fire truck access onto Glover. We've met with the fire department on site a couple of times, and we sat down with Ed Hesford, and that discussion kind of led us into the direction of the city's Slow Streets program. And, you know, as you can see, Woodward's a smaller residential street, as I said, used as a cut through. So these street improvements that we're petitioning would help lower speeds and improve the safety, and would also enhance fire truck access, which, you know, is obviously a public safety issue for not only our building, but other buildings on that street in that area. We have initiated some neighborhood process on this. So we've talked with Haley Dillon and Neighborhood Services, and are reaching out to the Andrews Square Civic Association, Patty and Linda over there, and some initial discussions with some abutters. But I'll let Bob sort of get into the details of the petitions.
Sure. Well, good morning to everybody. Bob Messner from Howard, Stein, Hudson, as Brian mentioned. Can everybody see my screen here?
Yep, we can.
Alrighty. First, I just want to illustrate for the
I apologize.
development.
I went off of the screen. I don't think you're projecting yours. I can see it off of the file.
Oh. So you can't see my screen?
Not yet. I pulled up the plans separately, but.
Chris said yes.
Oh, here we go. How about now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so my apologies. It said there was an error there in Google. I first just wanted to illustrate that the primary driveway access for the building is coming from Dorchester Ave, where we're reusing an existing curb cut.
Robert, could you go back to that previous photograph you had, the context one? Thank you so much.
Yep, so here's the property layout.
The slow streets, and I just want to get a context of what are the things that were of concern. If you could just give us some background context information.
Yeah, sure. So Dorchester Ave is here to the west, Dorchester Street. It's down here to the southeast, and primary frontage of the building is on Glover Court. As Brian mentioned, there's some community asks about slowing the traffic down. Some people use this as a cut through to get from Dorchester Street to Dorchester Ave. They use Woodward Street.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No problem. And as you can see here, this driveway, the existing curb cut in Dorchester Ave is here. We're reusing that for driveway access to the proposed building. In addition to that, on the frontage on Glover Court, there's a proposed parking spot where we are petitioning for driveway curb cuts in this location along Glover Court. And pardon my hopping around to the different plans. Here's a specific repair plan showing that 10-foot wide driveway curb cuts, city standard for sidewalks less than 7 feet. And this was accessing to a parking spot on the frontier. And moving to the intersection, as Brian mentioned, the talks with BTD for the Safe Streets type of design, we approached them with a tabled intersection, which would provide flush condition for pedestrians in this area. Woodward Street slopes downhill. We'd be providing pavement markings as well as signage to alert the speed limits and et cetera. We'll be reconstructing some of the sidewalks here to come to that flush condition before it ramps down to meet with the downhill grade of Woodward Street. As Brian also mentioned, the fire department expressed interest to get a full-size ladder truck down Glover Court to access the building. And in order to do that, we had to extend this tabling a little bit of a ways down Glover Court before it ramped down back to existing. And in addition to make that truck turning movement a success, we needed to relocate some of the signage here. And finally, the easement that we are proposing, we need to get an access easement at this property here at 35 Woodward Street. The condominium trust has signed off on this, been coordinated with, and they are co-petitioners to this. And additionally, since we're tabling in here, we're creating a low point. So we're proposing an inlet, and I've gotten some feedback from Boston Martin Sewer, and I need to coordinate further some of the other items in here, but that's ongoing.
Bob, on this
Happy to answer any
tabling,
questions.
perfect. Thank you, and thank you for this overview. On this tabling, has it been reviewed by Public Works and by BTD just to make sure it conforms with our standards for slope and other other engineering considerations?
So we have met with BTD. They did review. I know Amy has looked at it too, but I'm not sure a detailed review in terms of grading has happened.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, I think that just a little confused, right? Like, so no objection to the tabling of this. I think that the crossings and the ramps and everything, it just makes for a much better crossing. I just looked at like the notion of this being calming. These markings mean stuff like raised elements, and it seems like we're not actually raising it, we're just flattening it, right? Like we're plateauing this intersection, not raising it. My initial concern was that we were raising it and such a steep slope down, we don't hike it back up. It's too steep for a raised element. But all of these markings denote kind of that you are about to hit a raised element, which you are not. So that's the part I'm concerned about. And also, it seems like this plan requires a bunch of associated parking loss, whereas if it's just a regrading exercise, then it doesn't require all of the parking removal. Because like you said that the community asked for calming. What was that, a community group? I'm just trying to understand the genesis of this.
sure, I'd defer to Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, yes, it was more butters than the association that talked about the traffic cut through and stuff. And they were, when we were discussing our building, obviously adding units there, they were concerned about the increase in traffic and the complaints about already existing problems with people cutting through. So it was more direct butters or butters in the area than the association on that issue. I mean, it is meant to be raised as opposed to just a regrading, because the raised part helps with the fire access issue as well. So the fire truck doesn't want to hop a curb. So we were sort of able to address both issues by raising it instead as opposed to regrading.
Yeah, no, I no objection to what's actually happening here, but I just want to be careful about what we're calling it, because my initial concern was the raised element on such a steep downhill. We can't just hike it back up, right? We have requirements for that angle. And then the answer I got back was we're not raising it. It's going to just be plateauing this to flatten it out, which I think is the right answer here. But I want to be careful how and whom we're communicating what this is and why. And I also want to make sure that the markings represent what we're actually constructing. So if it is going to be traffic calming, then I think it's the raised element that does provide the calming. So we need to understand that and what the marking should be. And if it is not calming and we're just kind of plateauing the intersection to provide better accessibility, the emergency access, et cetera, then I think that we don't need to lose all of this parking. But we can't mark that it's a raised element and then not raise it is I think where we're at.
Amy, okay, so now I am so thoroughly confused or crystal as daylight. Just make sure that, because I don't know, is it stable or not? What the heck's going on?
Me neither. That's, I think, I kind of the point. So
Okay.
Whichever way it goes, I have one question. I think they can answer it either way. I just want to make sure that we're not doing we're not marking for calming and then just, kind of tabling. I want to make sure that they match.
Got it, absolutely. And if the earth is moving, Public Works, Todd, just make sure that Zach's team is engaged in the situation. That is just from the design part of it. And if the earth is moving, Robert or Mr. Kaplan, who will be doing the construction, obviously a contractor chosen by you folks? Yes, obviously.
We have not chosen a contractor at this point, but
you will be picking someone, and so there will be a contractor chosen by you at a point in time in the future. And when you are rebuilding our roads, there has to be a process where Mr. Messenger or someone who is certifying to the city's public works folks that the road has been built correctly. Okay, so that's the part which I want to get through here, as much as whether it's tabletop, speed bump, or whatever the heck it is. Pavement markings, if that is pavement markings, the Boston Transportation Department will verify whether your markings have been done correctly. But if the road is moving an inch to the left, to the right, to the top, or the bottom, you need to make sure that there are appropriate people from Public Works that are certifying to the city that your contractor has done things as they should be doing. Is that okay, Mr. Kaplan?
Yep, absolutely understood.
Because I don't think you want to tag with the responsibility of something awkward with this location, so you just need some coverage here.
Okay, no problem.
So, thank you.
It seems, and there may be others, but obviously the set of issues that Amy and Par just worked through that need to be worked through before the public hearing. Second, is there any neighborhood engagement, a butter engagement regarding the implications of your design changes on the street, whether it's traffic calming, loss of parking, et cetera. So would love to know the engagement you will do between now and the potential public hearing on the 25th. And then third, wanted to make sure with Denise that she's good from a water sewer perspective, particularly about the infiltration trench and who's maintaining that. But anyway, can you talk public engagement first, and then we'll talk the infiltration trench?
Sure, yeah, so we've just kind of initiated the public engagement. We will continue that. So we've done a little bit with some direct abutters. We're going to continue on that front. We've also talked with Haley Dillon, Neighborhood Services, and we're looking to get in front of Andrew Square Civic Association, or at least talk with them and see how they want to handle the association. And we have some background with them. We went through the whole process when we were going through the permitting on our building. So we know most of the abutters and the association.
Got it, Brian, that's helpful. And then the 24-inch infiltration trench, just want to make sure that Brian, Bob, Denise, you're all on the same page about that, about who's maintaining it.
Yeah, actually, we wrote, we sent an email out last night, and, you know, I know that there was some talk, yeah, actually, Amy, we had a meeting about it a couple months ago about, you know, who's gonna own these types of things, and these things, with the tabling, they may come up in the future. So we did request a detail of the infiltration trench, and it's something we'll review and decide if something will look in the future. So we did also say that, you know, if for some reason, if we don't come to an agreement with this, you know, the abutter may have to maintain it. And that was our response. So it's, you know, it's in the works. You know, we'll work with you to try to come to an agreement with something.
Got it. Denise, thank you. Brian, Bob, is that, and Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, that this may be something which you would have to maintain if for some reason, if it's something with water and sewer feels like they cannot.
Okay.
Denise, is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that correct though?
Oh, yes, yeah, thank you.
All right, other questions or comments?
Yes, I did have some additional comments to the comments that I did send yesterday. They're tangentially related to Amy's questions about the pavement markings and making sure that if we're proposing a raised crossing here, that the details match what will actually happen. I think there was a bit of a miscommunication on what the design was. Because the details were showing that the ramps were sloping down. So for having a flush crossing, we should use the detail for a flush crossing. Additionally, we'd like to ensure that since this is a 20-foot right-of-way, the sidewalks here aren't the widest. So if we could make sure that the signs are located on one side of the street and one side of the street only, that would be preferable to us. And we'd also just like to make sure that we have adequate width in front of the building when we're using Glover's Court as an entrance to these new residences. We want to ensure that these residences are able to walk to their buildings in an accessible manner. Additionally, there is, if I recall correctly, a accessible parking space right where that driveway is. So we'd just like to know the status of that parking spot and whether or not it will be kept in this condition or relocated. We do like to keep tabs on our accessible parking spaces, especially in residential areas. So when you have more information on that, we'd appreciate it.
Okay.
No problem. Yep.
Bob, again, some very tiny little details. On this setup, on these plans, if you could just actually put the street names, which would be Glover Court on the left and Woodward, and you detail very nicely all the properties that are off Glover Court. On Woodward Street itself, on the right-hand side of your screen, are there any houses along that side?
There are, yeah.
Okay, because if you are tabling or flattening or whatever the heck you are doing at that intersection, I'm going to assume that there's a property right at the other end that is facing this intersection of Woodward that may be interested in this conversation, right? Okay, so it is good for you to show those properties also, so that way we know that those things, like let's assume that, Bob, you were living over there, the last thing you want is to suddenly see the bit of roadway in front of your house move without you knowing anything about it. Follow what I'm sort of saying?
Yep, understood.
Right, good. So show the totality of the houses that are impacted by this action.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Abatana?
All set.
All right, any members of the public?
No.
All right. So Brian, Bob, Michael, it seems like there's a couple things to work through. Do you feel like you can get that done by March 25th, the next PIC hearing? Or would you prefer April 15th?
I think probably April 15th, so we can have adequate time to talk with the butters.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Then we'll see you on April 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our agenda for today. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Take care, all.